There we go. Hello, everyone who will be viewing this, presumably in the replays as well. I'm Emily, the self-healing consultant, and today we have Simon with us. Welcome, Simon. Hello again. This is our second time.
Indeed. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So we've already met Simon, but we're going to be talking again because we have some interesting insights to share. So Simon has a brand called the Data Warrior. And he specializes in innovation, data, and leadership consulting, having worked with some of the world's most well-known brands and organizations, such as Lego, European Space Agency, Telefonica, and DHL. And the Data Warrior helps startups and SMEs become data-driven by increasing data utilization, simplifying complexity, and enabling self-service, aka focusing on what matters, the core. Now, this sounds all very, very clever and interesting, and I would love to hear a little bit more about this because the core is something that I think will resonate quite a bit.
Okay.
So why don't you elaborate a little bit more? Give us, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, thanks for the wonderful introduction. That's precisely what I do for business clients, corporate clients. So the core. Let me get straight into it. What is the core? Well, I still have like another field of interest or like business, let's say, because I developed the brand, the Data Warrior, completely myself. So everything that you see that I put out in terms of content, websites, I do it all myself. So I basically became a jack of all trades because I realized very early on I wanted to go into business for myself. And if you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money, you have to learn to do things for yourself, right? So I got really into branding, and I built this brand, the Data Warrior, to kind of market myself better to potential clients. And then I recently also started coaching a few. I have 3 people right now, 3 mentees that are also looking to make the jump into self-employment, freelancing, or starting their own business. And I'm helping them develop their brands, finding their voice, and identifying their true customer, clarifying their message, and strengthening their signal on social media. And in the course of like developing this program and also working with these guys, I kind of broke it down to what's really necessary, right? And then ultimately, I figured, we make things complicated for ourselves so much. If we would just focus on the core, what really matters, then everything else that's that's not essential is up for debate, right? Or can be changed, right? But there's something that you need to really define first before you go into any business. And I also have a strategy background. I studied business strategy in university, and one of the key things they in the strategy literature is also always you have to define your core ideology as a business. You have to define who you are. You have to define what you stand for, what you're offering, what value you bring, and define what's essential, the core, right? And anything that's not core, change it, right? But the core is what's important, and that goes for the brand and service design that I do. So I really try to help. I really help people, get to the core of what they do, and try not to focus too much on the bells and whistles and all the cool marketing tactics and stuff that you can do, because that changes so so quickly that that's like a constant a marathon, basically. The social media game, right? It's a marathon. You got to put out content all the time. The algorithm changes, blah blah blah. But what doesn't change is the core, right? The core is what's essential, and that's really also for me key to providing a value-driven service, right? Really knowing who you are, being able to state it clearly, speaking to your true customer, and making that message or that signal as strong as possible. I
It's
hope I
interesting.
did a good job of explaining that.
Yeah, but it's amazing because as you're saying it, I'm the first thing that jumps to mind is that how that's so relevant with every aspect in our lives and not just business, like and for me with my work it's figuring out the core of who you are, not just in your
Yeah,
business but like in life. Like that's what matters, the core. And when it comes to self-healing, and I've now rebranded the group relationship rehab, rehabilitating the relationship we have with ourselves is literally figuring out what that core is, what our values are, what our identity really is, that authentic self, returning to that core,
absolutely.
uncovering it, because it's covered in so many bells and whistles, as you
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
and it really like it's a real like parallel kind of thing. So it was really interesting actually hearing you say that, because every single thing you said, I was like, that's totally applicable to
yeah,
to like the relationship with the self, and not just with
absolutely,
business.
absolutely. Like, because I was pondering this question the other day. Um, we're living in a world that's increasingly driven by artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
right? And digitalization. And I myself, with the Data Warrior, am helping companies digitize through data, right? Because I always say masters of digitalization are the masters of their data, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's so important to have a solid core, right? In terms of also what your data utilization is concerned. But with this craze of everything going digital, everything has to be automated, everything has to be fast, everything has to be always available, no downtime. um, the um,
It all has to be instant, and there's no.
instant.
Yeah.
it's 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 so focused on like creating a machine, right? Creating a machine learning, artificial intelligence. Everything has to be automated. uh, Everything is becoming infused with technology, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we lose touch with what makes us human, right? We're so caught up on social media all the time. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, we're constantly comparing ourselves with other people, you know depending on how much you consume social media, right? A lot of people have this problem also, that they get sucked into the scrolling and comparing themselves and feeling bad that they don't have this life that is being portrayed. It's a whole um dark cloud over this digitalization, or this digital era. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm actually a very technology. I'm a technology aficionado. I love using technology to make my life easier and better, right? So I'm not at all saying digitalization is bad, right? Because it's also in part my business. But what I'm saying is we need to figure out how to make digitalization human centered, right? And not artificial intelligence. Let's inject some human intelligence into artificial intelligence. Let's inject some humanity into digitalization. And how can we create a human-centered service? How do we do that? That was the question that I was pondering to close the loop finally. I always open big
It's
loops, I know.
okay.
But so how do we do that, right? How do we create a human-centered service? And the simple answer is, well, by addressing the mind and the heart,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think if we get back to the core of what's really important, that we can do that, that we will achieve this, right? When we're interacting with other people, it's important to know who we are, what we bring to the table, and also, communicating that clearly and being confident in that. And you only know that if you know who you are in your core, right? And that only comes across when you know that, and can say and can really say that confidently, right? Um, so so where was I going with this? Essentially, it's about really, for me, the core is really about taking something that's totally abstract and not very tangible for a lot of people,
Okay.
and making it tangible, making it so that it's easy to connect with it on a human level, whether it be, a new data driven technology that's implemented into a company, and people are, there's so many different people in this world. Not everybody knows about this. Not everybody's an expert in this technology, right? And you go into a company, you introduce a new technology. There's a lot of people there that might be from an older semester. They're scared of new technology. They think they might lose their job because there's a new technology coming that's going to take their job or something, right? There's a
Mhm.
lot of fear also associated with it, right?
Mhm.
And what happens when you're afraid, right? You close down, right? Fear is the seed of the seed of all evil, I would say, right? And how do you reduce fear? Well, by creating a connection between the people and technology. How do you do that? By making it human centered. How do you make it human centered? By addressing the mind and the heart to
Hmm.
close that loop. So that, I hope that made sense. I know I always talk
It's
a lot.
okay. And I can go with you down that lane, but I don't want to go too off topic because it's
That's
fascinating.
true.
It's very interesting. I watched The Social Dilemma quite recently, and I went down a whole thing. Like I could talk about this for hours, but I do actually, before we go down any other routes, I would like us, if possible, that you just give a little bit of a recap, a bit of a background about you, because
Mhm.
the series I've named it Trauma Survivors, Transformation Stories, and I would like people to hear your story. So if you could please just give us a recap, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I wasn't always the data warrior or true story Simon. I wasn't always, internationally booked consultant. I, I at 20 years old, I was very young. I had just begun my apprenticeship in Germany. It's a common thing to do an apprenticeship. I'm from Germany. Might not hear that, but I am from Germany. Believe me. Um, and it was my first actual summer vacation that I took in the apprenticeship, and we were going to go kite surfing. Two friends and me, and we didn't arrive. We My friend crashed the Jeep we were traveling into the back of a semi truck, and the truck caught fire instantly. Um, my friend on the passenger seat was able to be rescued, pulled out. I was able to be pulled out. My friend in the who was driving was stuck between steering wheel and driver's seat, and as I was told, most likely killed upon impact. Um, and the car completely burned out. There was only like a clump of metal left of the car. I saw some pictures, um, and this was a big Jeep, Grand Cherokee, and there was just like a hunk of metal left. And I was flown into a special clinic because I had such life-threatening injuries. So I had to be flown with a helicopter into a special clinic, and several weeks later, I woke up from a coma, and then they told me what happened, and I was in the intensive care unit, in and out of surgery every day. I don't know. I don't even know how many surgeries ultimately I had. My body's full of scars and burns. Lost vision in my right eye. Uh, Almost all my teeth got knocked out. Um, and that was the physical trauma side of it. But as you can imagine, there's also a lot of psychological trauma that goes along with an experience like that. And it was a long, long road to not only just get my physical health back, but also kind of deal with the fact that this happened, and to kind of get back to life. I say always, I survived, but I had to fight like hell to live. And it's it was tough. It still is sometimes. I got introduced to depression back then, and dealing with depression, you have to find strategies to cope, and deal with what comes along with it. It really also. I was so focused to getting my life back that I put my head down. I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to get back to to where I was. Right. I'm going to do all the training possible that I can. I'm going to get strong again. I'm going to do as much physical therapy, as much sports as I can, and really just try to get my life back on track as fast as possible. Go back to the apprenticeship, finish the apprenticeship, which I all did. I did that, and then straight after I went to university. And I managed to to get my bachelor's. I did everything on time, right? And then I got my bachelor's. I was done with my bachelor's, and I did a kind of a residency program, an entrepreneur in residence program, which I had to end up quitting because I had moved up to Hamburg for it, and then I was up alone in Hamburg, and that was really the first time in my life where things started kind of like getting quiet, if that makes any kind of sense. And because I wasn't like constantly driven to I got this goal, this goal, this goal. It was kind of like, okay, now you're going to work every day, and you got something to do, and it was kind of like, and I was alone in my apartment at night, and it was like I could, and then it started like I couldn't fall asleep, and then I started having like chest pains, and then I thought I was like having a heart attack or something, right? And every night I couldn't fall asleep, and then in the morning I was so exhausted I couldn't get up out of bed. I had to force myself to go into the shower, and I had no idea what was going on, right? I thought like I was dying or something, right? And it turns out I was having panic attacks, right? And it was it got up to the point where I just broke down on the street one day just crying because I thought my heart was gonna pop out of my chest, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And then I had to quit that program, and figure out what was going on, right? And then I saw like a specialist. I never really went to therapy or anything. I never did like a therapy or talking to somebody over an extended period of time. Never did that because I always kind of had this. I always kind of had this ability to think positive, like PMA, positive mental attitude. That's like always kind of my my motto, right? You got to keep the PMA, and you got to define your values, live your life according to your values, make your time here as valuable as possible, and set goals for yourself. But this was like I couldn't do anything about it. It just came out of nowhere, right? And I think it's because things started getting quiet for the first time really in my life, and I you never know. Just this stuff comes out of nowhere, and like depression hits you like like that, And I went to go see a specialist who, this guy has many professions, right? And I did like 5 sessions with this guy for like $150 an hour. He did like some crazy stuff with me with like this, with a board with like lights going left and right. It was absolutely crazy. And then all of a sudden, like tears were streaming down my eye, and I was. Um, uh, I was like crying and laughing at the same time. Like these sessions were like insane. And or he like made me run up and down the stairs really fast. Like this was like at his place, right? And to just show me like you're not gonna die. Like this is something that your body is doing. Like you're having a panic attack. Your breathing is screwed up, um, because of something in that something some fear inside you, or some stress is inside you that that you need to let out. And he showed me a lot of great techniques, breathing techniques, um, and that really helped me kind of deal with these panic attacks. And I mean that was the yeah, that was like the most intense. I knew like there was something. I knew I was like not all right with everything, and I knew that I always knew like I probably should be depressed, but I never really felt it up to that point because I was like constantly doing something, right? I was constantly keeping myself busy with something, and then it just really hit me. Um, but I'm glad that I went to go see that guy. He taught me some really good techniques to deal with these panic attacks, and to really also like from a physiological point of view, teach me like what's going on when that's happening. To like identify when when you're having one, and then like you know take a time out, do a breathing exercise, realize that this is something that's happening to you, and to like kind of find the underlying reason for it, right, and then deal with it.
I'd like to I'd like to just pause you there for a second and
Yeah,
say, first of all, thank you for sharing all of that and hearing it all again. It's like, whoa, you're so strong that you got through what you got through, and really, uh, it's it's a very, very powerful journey that you've been on. I did just want for the viewers as well to understand. I believe that the positive mindset attitude, the PMA as you refer to it, I think that it is incredible and has so much merit. And the fact that you have that like innately, that was your kind of your norm, your baseline, like just keep positive, keep going. So many people um have to learn how to do that. But I also do think that if you're just constantly focusing on the positive, you don't allow the space for the processing of often what isn't positive and
yeah,
does need processing. I think that there is a fine line, a very, very fine line between um suppressing as well. Like I do believe that when it comes to, as we spoke before, the core, then that also means allowing space for the uncomfortable and for the difficult emotions. I mean, we're taught in our society, we're conditioned not to feel big feelings, to avoid big feelings, especially the unpleasant ones.
yeah,
From infancy, a baby's crying, stop the baby crying. How do we stop the baby crying? But it's a very natural response. And, like the social conditioning, boys don't cry and men shouldn't cry and shouldn't feel their feelings. And I think that understanding that our emotions serve a purpose, there is a function. Otherwise we wouldn't have emotions.
yeah,
They serve a purpose, and
absolutely.
especially the difficult ones. So to learn to kind of tune into your core and sense when anxiety is starting, when fear is starting, when panic is starting, to identify those feelings, and then to regulate, to learn emotional regulation, which is the techniques that I think that you're referring to with the breath work and stuff like that. That's regulating your body back. It's saying, hold on a second, I need to slow down. I need to take a break. I need to figure out what's going on. I need to then regulate my body back to normal, like figure out what it is that I need. I work a lot with learning to listen, to communicate with ourselves, because our body's communicating. It's just communication. The panic attacks are a form of communication. It's something needs processing, like, listen to me. And
Yeah.
I think that as well, when it comes to you mentioned this as well, with it when things went quiet, and you didn't have as many distractions and as many things to keep you busy, so then suddenly you could listen to your body, and your body was saying, okay, you're listening now, like,
Yeah.
this needs processing, this needs, and not knowing how to process that is something that most of us, have to try and grapple with. And I think that that's why depression and anxiety and panic attacks and all these things are so, so common today, because A, we're not taught to listen to ourselves. B, we're taught to distract ourselves and avoid these
Yep.
big feelings at all costs and suppress and ignore and deny and numb. And Western medicine is all about numbing and ignoring and denying and just band-aiding. Oh, you have anxiety? Here, take a pill. You'll stop feeling anxious. And it's like, no, the anxiety is there for a reason. There's something that
Yeah.
you need to like tune into the anxiety, figure out what it's trying to tell you, and process it, and figure out what's going on there, and heal
Absolutely.
it, not just take a pill. And because it's going to keep coming, then you're going to have to be on pills for your whole life for anxiety. um and
What some people might want,
Yeah,
like.
but I think that's become the norm. Oh yes, I'm on these pills. Again, I'm not disqualifying the merit of medicine as well, and of
Absolutely not. No, no. I'm a
anti-anxieties. Like,
scientist at heart,
no, no,
like
they do
I'm
serve a
absolutely,
purpose. If you're
absolutely.
non-functional, then medicine can definitely be a tool to help you function, so that you can then work on yourself and then slowly wean off the meds. But
Exactly, because I do know people who've
100%.
taken it and it has helped.
Exactly.
And so that's fine, but you can't ignore the fact that a lot of people get addicted to these drugs as well.
And
And
don't do the actual work alongside it to heal. Like there's a reason. I really believe that there's a reason that our bodies respond in a certain way. I believe anxiety, depression, they're all symptoms. They're not a problem. They're symptoms of a problem.
yeah,
And I think that if we just try and constantly ignoring the symptoms, the problem isn't going to go away.
no,
But with distraction, back to the thing, I really do feel that as well now with Corona, for example. Everyone, most people, not everyone, of course. A lot of people have had to slow down, and
hmm
things have gone quiet. No
hmm
socializing, no going out, no work for some people. Like working from home,
yeah,
like a lot of distractions have been removed, and
and
then
look at the
suddenly
headlines.
anxiety, depression, because people suddenly have to kind
Yeah,
of confront their fears, their anxieties, their emotions. Things are suddenly surfacing because they're not as distracted.
their relationships
um
with their family,
exactly.
their spouse, their kids,
They have to
the
deal with whatever's going on, and
yeah,
not very few people are equipped to deal with it.
yeah,
So I think that it's what you're saying just is very relevant, and to current events right now. um
absolutely.
but I do think that yeah, the main points I said was distraction, and the regulation as well, and that
hmm
having a positive mindset is incredible, and an incredible skill that you have naturally. I'm very jealous of you, because I had to kind of learn that myself. Um, but I think it's also important to have that balance of being able to sit with yourself and the discomfort. So I think it's a balance of both.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, please continue. Okay, so we've introduced um, what you do, and a bit of your background.
hmm
Would you like to tell us a few techniques or tools that you said that he taught you quite a few techniques?
Um, yeah. So like I did this technique before. Um, I mean, just maybe I'll talk briefly about the techniques because
Hmm.
some of them I have it somewhere, but I don't know them by heart anymore because I just haven't done them in a long time.
No.
Um, but for one of them was deep breathing, like kind of like the Wim Hof method, where you just breathe in, breathe out, and then kind of hold your breath, and
Okay.
then realize how, and then like really feel basically the oxygen basically flooding through your body, and really feeling your body as you're holding your breath, and
Hmm.
realizing that you're capable of holding your breath, and that your heart is strong, it's pounding, and like this, it's a you do this like for at least for a minute, right? You take deep breaths in and out nonstop, like in and out, like kind of a wave, basically, like a current, right? And
Hmm.
then deep breath in and hold it, and then a deep breath out and hold it. And while you're holding, while you're not breathing, you really need to take the time to listen to your body, right? Because then it gets really quiet again, and you can really you feel everything much more intense, right? You're much more aware, because you've basically flooded your brain with oxygen, right? Which is always good to have a lot of oxygen in the blood, right? um, and you're just so much more tuned into your physical self, right? Another method was actually which I had been introduced to before, in like I was in like a neurological rehab, because I had so much like damage around my skull and brain, which thank God uh, healed completely.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's a miracle in and of itself. Um, so I was introduced already to that technique there, but I wasn't open to it. I wasn't open to it. For me, it was all hocus pocus. Like I'm honestly, like when I was there, like I was still in a wheelchair, right? And I was like kind of like no, this is bullshit. This like I want to go to the gym. I want to play basketball. I can't do that with my broken arms, like, and I'm in a wheelchair. I can't even walk. And like I was, like what am I doing here? Like the technique, right? And the technique was called progressive muscle relaxation. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
I'm not sure if I don't remember the guy or gal who invented it. I think it's from like one of the northern countries,
Okay.
for Scandinavian countries. Jakobsen, I think. And it's basically a technique where you breathe in and out, like you calmly breathe in and out, and you from head to toe flex and release every muscle, like from your scalp, beginning with your scalp, and also like squinting your eyes, and uh, you know flexing your biceps, and you do it all in a like in succession, right?
Hmm.
From head to toe. Um, and there's a lot of you go on YouTube, like PMR by Jakobsen, right? Progressive muscle relaxation. You can go on YouTube and check it out.
Hmm.
And again, it's a technique. It works if you open yourself to it, right?
Hmm.
Because again, like with the breathing, like like how I described earlier, it's it's again another way to connect to your physical self, to your core, right?
Hmm.
And really feel what's going on in your body, right? And actually feel the strength of your body as well, right? And so those were basically the two major techniques um, that were helpful to me,
That's
and
amazing.
I did them also again like every so often when I felt like I needed to, because of whatever reason, right? Throughout throughout the times. So those are two really great techniques that I can definitely advise. So I think the first one is like the Wim Hof breathing method, and the second one is the PMR by Jakobsen.
Well, I mean,
And
I haven't heard of either of them, but I do know about breathing. Like I've
mhm,
done breath work, and I'm a big advocate of deep belly breathing.
mhm, mhm,
I think that it allows us to really drop into the present moment. It grounds us.
mhm,
So, and focusing on the breathing then literally takes our mind off worrying about the future or the past or whatever it was that we were
whatever.
distracted with.
Yeah.
So, it brings you into the present, which is a key, part of self-healing, is being in the present, learning to be in the present with what is, and literally realizing that once you're in that present moment, there is no future or past or anything else. It's just in the now and
Here.
connecting to yourself. um it's very, very powerful. It's a very powerful
Oh yeah.
practice, the breath work, and also really does, secondly, like, work on awareness and self-awareness,
Mhm.
which is also a huge, 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 foundational, like, aspect to healing as well. And I like what you said about the muscles, and the fact that it even, it shows you how strong you are, and how one of the biggest, I think, realizations, that I've had, and I think it's due to motherhood, and also just on the progress I'm making in my journey, is how incredible, we are. Like,
Yeah.
the human body, like, it's mind boggling. Like, we
Mhm,
cannot, it's the most complex machine known to man. We still don't understand how all of it works and how all of it completely came to be.
mhm.
There are so many unknowns, and there's still, we can't recreate it, but then,
Yeah.
for example, now I'm pregnant, right? My
Mhm.
body, without me interfering in any way, is creating a human inside
I
of me. Like,
know, right?
I cannot. I know you became a dad this year, and so you'll
Yes,
totally get
yeah.
this. Like, it is beyond my, like, I can't grasp it. Like, it is beyond like, our ability to conceptualize this thing. Like,
I know exactly what you're
it's
talking about.
way too
I mean,
crazy. But
not exactly, obviously, because,
no, but
I'm not.
you're observing it from
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing it happen.
It was
And
like we were talking about just the other day. My wife and I, we were just saying, like, remember in the summer when we were wondering what he was gonna look like,
mhm,
and now he's here, and like he looks like amazing, right? But it's like you couldn't have imagined how he looks back then, right? You
no,
couldn't have even, So I know exactly what you're talking about. Like that's
it's
and I think,
mind blowing.
yeah,
And the fact is that once we really, I guess, start to grasp how amazing this system is, how miraculous it is, how grateful, like, I really do, which will lead us to your next point, I
yeah,
know. I really do, I think that, having just a little anecdote, but from having a lot of, being very influenced on social conditioning and comparison to others, as you mentioned before as well.
yeah,
I really struggled with my self-image and with
mhm,
myself. Many of us do.
yeah,
Um, the first time I ever truly, genuinely felt beautiful and loved myself was when I was pregnant. First time round, I was triple the size that I usually am. I had my double chin that I'm rocking right now as well. And I was just like, wow. Like, what this thing, like, this, it's just incredible. It is
yeah.
incredible. And I look at nature now
Literally
totally
is.
differently, like flowers and plants and anything that's like, I'm just in awe. Like, and this is my mindfulness practice that I do daily. Like, when I go on my walks, I look for plants and flowers and stuff like that. And it just blows me away. And then I'm just like, it's incredible. Like, it's just incredible. And that's the positive mindset attitude that I kind of have taken on. That's the way I, um like, it manifests for me.
That's
It's
awesome.
just being in awe of nature and of ourselves. Like, I
Yeah,
really do think that every single person is beautiful. Doesn't matter what shape or size or what. That's all bullshit. That's social conditioning. That's literally bullshit. We
yeah.
are incredible. We're, like, so incredible.
Certainly not to be taken for granted. That's for sure.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Anyway, so now I would like you to say what, because I know that you had something that you wanted to share with us. So
Yeah, I mean, we did like a pretty long recap, and we extended on a lot of really cool, really great issues also. But like there was like something that really something current that happened to me like in 2020, and I founded a business with a business partner, and we founded it and closed it. Like I put it in a post also, like dealing with it, and I was like, okay, I founded a business and closed the business in 2020. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And it was a big disappointment for me. And I started to like also blame, in a sense, also my business partner, because he kind of withdrew on a commitment he made to it, uh, and then I kind of like slipped into, which is the worst thing ever that you can do. Like the worst thing you can do is adopt a victim mentality. The worst thing you can do is look at yourself like you're the victim of something,
it
because
happens to the best of us.
absolutely, it happened to me this year. I
Yeah.
played the victim, right? Um, but when you play the victim, you open yourself up for depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you've opened yourself up for depression, um, like I say this, I think it's possible to swear on social media, right? So like this deception is no, depression is a deceptive son of a bitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
It blinds you to your blessings,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get caught up in playing the victim, and it's so comfortable because you get you try to get sympathy from other people, uh, and then everybody says, yeah, you're right, and how could he do that, and that's bullshit, to just go back on a commitment. And ultimately I got so like caught up um, in this victim mentality that I was like leaning towards a negative attitude, right? I was being very negative, right? Which is actually not who I am at all, right? And I was getting depressed, and then I was kind of sitting on the couch like just a few weeks ago, and because I had already kind of realized it, right, and kind of like made my peace with it, and like made my peace with my former business partner, and told him, you know what, it's fine, because I realized already several weeks before that you know uh, I need to get control of the situation back, right? Because uh, like it's affecting me in a negative way. I'm getting feedback from people telling me that you're so negative, right? And the things you say are so negative. And then I realized, okay, you know what? Instead of like blaming and pointing fingers over to this guy didn't come through on his commitment, left me in the lurch. Instead of doing all that, no, take responsibility. I took responsibility for it. Said, this is my failure to see, that the person that the person that I chose to go into business with um, wasn't the right person to do it with in the first place. And if I'm honest, I should have seen it before then, but I was just blinded by enthusiasm and like feeling good and hyped up on enthusiasm and motivation, right? Uh, and But if I'm honest, there was signs there that I should have seen, and I should have been more careful, right? And this is something that's not going to happen again to me ever, right? I'm not gonna let myself be exposed to this again, right? So that's a big learning for me, right? And it definitely increased my self-awareness, right? Because I also realized, okay, the other stuff that I had going before, like with the data warrior already, right? That was that was like my bread and butter. I totally focused away from that for a couple of months. Now I'm really like turning it up again, right? And like redoing my website, for instance. Right now, I came up with the core. I came up with a whole new service line of like brand and service design consulting, and all of this just started happening recently in the last few weeks. That like the dominoes are kind of like uh, falling over, or like everything is clicking all of a sudden, because
Mhm.
I moved away. I completely moved away from the victim mentality by first of all taking responsibility for everything that happened 100%, not pointing any fingers at anybody else other than this guy right here. That's again, that I think that we discussed that one also last time, that it's so important to take responsibility 100%, right,
Mhm.
for everything that happens, good or bad. Um, but what really helped me, and this was recently, when also when we kind of chatted the first time to say, okay, let's do this again. What really helped me to really make that mental shift, and now like everything's clicking all of a sudden, is gratitude. I was sitting on the couch here at home, and my son was already in bed, sleeping, and I was so like looking at my life, and I realized that 2020 is actually the best year of my life so far. I've received more blessings in 2020 than ever. Right? I realized my son was born, the most precious gift I've ever received. Right? I have a wonderful wife. Right? She's a magnificent mother to my son. Right? We're a family, and there's nothing more important, and there's no other job that's more important in the entire universe than being my son's father. And I get to do that. I get to be my son's father. Right? He brings so much joy to my life. And I realized that, hey man, no matter how many of my businesses fail, no matter how many people you know um, do whatever, it doesn't matter what anybody does, as long as I'm grateful for what I have, I'm open to receive even more. I'm open to I put it like this, like I'm open to the abundance that the universe has to offer, right? Because I'm grateful for what I have. Because if you're not grateful for what you have, you're likely not going to be grateful for what you're going to get,
Mhm.
right? So it's so incredibly important, and that mindset switch led me to, like I said, come up with a concept for my two brands, True Story Simon, the Data Warrior, because I was already thinking like, how can I connect this? How can I connect these two? Like, because it doesn't make sense and all this kind of stuff to have like the two. I can't put it all under one roof. And then all of a sudden, I was like, it just all clicked, right? I was like, okay, the one will be brand and service design, True Story Simon. That's where I kind of came up with the whole core idea, right? And then I realized, hey, like this idea of the core that I came up with also applies to uh, uh, servant leadership, data science, and business intelligence with the data warrior. It applies, because I was thinking, how can I make it human centered, right? How can I make everything I do human centered in a world that's increasingly digital, right? And then all of a sudden, everything clicked. And I chalk it up to the fact that my mind wasn't occupied anymore with any negativity. I wasn't focused on anybody else, but me and my family, right? Which is the most important thing in the world to me, right? It's on the top of my value pyramid, my personal value pyramid: love, respect, honor, friendship, and family. That's on top. And I think that was really the key to really sit down and take stock of my blessings and be grateful for 2020 and for everything what happened. And I'm feeling really good about it. And it's gonna be still a lot of work to get everything to where I want it to be, to get everything to have a constant stream of clients, and um, kind of actually implement some automation into my marketing and all this kind of like technical BS, right? That,
Mhm.
I mean, it's necessary, it's needed, it's absolutely state of the art, and you have to do it if you want to have like a professional business. Um, it's a lot of hard work, and so, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it because I'm so inspired.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear it. And thank you for sharing. I think it's such powerful stuff, these insights that you've had. And I took some notes because I didn't want to interrupt, and I do want to kind of, I'd like to just a few things that stood out to me.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, okay. With regards to a lot of the viewers that may tune into this in the replays, is that when victim mentality is, it's a big one. It's a big one, and it's very, very difficult, especially when we're talking about childhood trauma, and
Yeah,
very, very intense kind of ingrained trauma with
yeah,
real emotional wounds. So victim mentality is something that people get stuck in for years, and then
yeah,
it can be very triggering to say you have to take responsibility, because they're like, but I'm not responsible. Like, imagine if someone was abused constantly in childhood, then how do they take responsibility for that?
hmm
So I think
hmm
that when it comes to victim mentality and taking responsibility, there is also like a difference between childhood trauma and adult trauma and abuse and having some like a failure. There's all these different kinds of traumas, so I just wanted to kind of just clarify on that. But yes, I think that even when it comes to childhood trauma and trauma itself, one of the biggest things that I found, and I really do agree with you here, is that once you are an adult, you can take responsibility for the now. You cannot necessarily take responsibility for what happened to you as a child. And I know you're not talking about anything in childhood. Yes, you're talking about something that happened with a business partner this year. So it's two different things. But
I mean, I'll let you finish, but that sparked something that I wanted to say also to
yeah.
that, because I think it's inclusive still, what I meant. But go
Mhm.
on. Yeah.
No, so 100%. It's still, I do, it was more of, I want to validate the victimhood in people that have been abused, but I do want to say that the responsibility is still something that's very valid in the here and now. Take responsibility for your life, take responsibility for your decision, take responsibility for your health and your well-being. And I think that the fact that you were able to literally come up with that yourself as well and say, I'm going to take responsibility, I think that that's incredible. And I'm a huge advocate of that. Like, for me, the first step in healing is committing to showing up for yourself, taking responsibility for yourself and your trajectory. um so that's just one thing
hmm
I wrote down. And also failure. When you
hmm
said, this was your failure, I had a guest on a few months ago, Shuli, if it's in on the YouTube channel on the
hmm
replays, and she came up with this incredible sentence that I love, and she said, "Failure is the shortcut to growth." And I
I
thought
love
that
it.
that was so good. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm stealing it. So I
it's a good one.
really do feel that failure is the shortcut to growth. So, like, to fear the
Yeah,
failure less,
it's
to have
true.
it impact you
Mhm.
potentially less in a negative way, and to be able to say, okay, so if I fail, what can I learn from it? Like, how am I
Right.
going to grow from this? And to really view it as the shortcut to growth. So in itself, it's actually a positive thing to fail, in a way. So it reminded me of what she said, which I thought was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good
and
one.
in a way, it's also something that when I was having a bit of an existential crisis a few years ago,
hmm
I I found this theory by a Polish psychologist, and I cannot remember his name for the life of me. But the theory was called positive disintegration, and
hmm
it's this feeling of everything's falling apart, depression, and like everything's collapsing, everything is horrible, like the victim mentality kind of thing. But it's positive disintegration, meaning failure is the shortcut to growth, meaning this thing is happening and it is everything's like breaking down and whatever, and you feel like it's the end of the world, and you're having this huge crisis and this huge, you're getting stuck in this depression. But it's actually positive disintegration, because you're now going to rebuild with, in a very positive way, with the lessons learned and with the insights and with the wisdom and with the
Yeah.
experience and with the, everything.
It's like a
So
muscle, right? It's like body. I like to use bodybuilding as an example because it's like you train, you tear your muscles. That's literally what happens. Your muscles tear, right?
mhm,
Small tears, and they grow back together stronger,
stronger.
right?
Yeah.
And then
So positive disintegration with the muscles.
exactly,
It's the same like kind of concept. So that
exactly.
was something that also reminded me of that. And then lastly, the last point that I wrote with the gratitude, there was one thing that for some reason is very obvious to me and that you didn't mention that you're grateful for. And I think that you should really realize how you have and like
I
to be
guess.
grateful for having you. That's the core, right? Like you have you. And it's something that I've really um I really focus on that, on
Okay. Yeah,
building,
it's a good. That's a
rebuilding the
good.
relationship with yourself, and realizing that you have you first of all before anything else, and you have gotten you out of the traumas and of the depressions, and you keep finding the solutions, and you are very resourceful, and you are incredibly intelligent and strong and brave. Like you have you, and I think if anything that, like, of course, like, of course, I'm not devalidating anything that you said, that you're grateful for. But I was just like, I wanted to jump in. I was like, and you, be grateful for you. You have you, and I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's one of my biggest, messages to people is that when you realize that you have you.
That's yeah. I mean, it just didn't occur to me, I guess, because like all the thoughts are like, absolutely right. It's good to have like a mirror, and like I always feel like other people are a mirror always, and in this case, thank you for that, for being my mirror in this case.
An
Um,
honor.
Thank you so much. And but yeah, I guess I hadn't even considered that. Yeah, but it's yeah, no buts. I hadn't considered it. It's I I guess thinking about it, I do feel like I wouldn't want to trade with anybody. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy that I'm me, because if I think about it now, like I think I'm aware of the fact that uh, not everybody would have handled everything that happened to me in my life the way I've handled it.
Hell no.
So
Hell no.
so yeah, I think that is valid. So, but like so thanks again, and but to like to the
Pleasure.
responsibility part and the victimhood, right?
Yes.
Because that was important to me to like, because
Yes. Yes.
absolutely, I don't want to I don't want to or I don't want to say what I don't want to do. What I want to do is just say, like, especially like a child is is not responsible for the trauma that was caused to it, right?
Mhm.
By whatever, like whatever happened, child abuse, yeah.
Mhm.
Of course, a child is not responsible. Of
Yeah.
course, yeah. The person committing the trauma, or creating the trauma is responsible. That is unquestionable, right? I'm not or I'm like I don't think even that I don't even think that's up for discussion, and I just want to clearly distance myself from that.
Mhm.
Um,
You're more about
but
empowering that, like,
right,
now you can take responsibility for this and get out.
right. So it's like like once you're like, and of course, like with children, like if there's responsible adults around, it would be the adult's responsibility to help the child, to get the child the help it
100%.
needs to start, to help the child take responsibility for the future, for its future, right?
Yeah.
Because everything is always about the future, right? It's never about the past. Your past is in the rear view, right? But you can always look at it and to learn from it
Mhm.
and make your future better.
Mhm.
And that's what you're responsible for when you, and especially when you're an adult. Once you've become an adult, also, like, you need to take 100% responsibility, right? And that doesn't mean that you're responsible. I'm not responsible for the car crash. I'm not responsible for
Exactly.
that. That's also the example that I wanted to
But
like
you're
inject,
responsible for
inject
what
there.
you do now for your
Ex-
future, to better your future.
Exactly. Like I can't change the fact that that happened. I can't
Hmm.
change it. No, nor can a child change that somebody did something, right? Can't change it, right?
But as an
Uh,
adult, you can be responsible for what you do today so that you have a better tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your current circumstances are always a result of your past decisions. Always.
Hmm.
We talked about life choices last time, right? And uh, like since we're already getting to the full hour, maybe it's time for a kind of a resume, a summary.
Yes.
Your your uh, your current situation, your current circumstances are a result of your past decisions. In your current circumstances, you can take time to reflect on your past decisions to make better choices in the future, to make your future better. And I highly recommend choosing gratitude, taking stock of your blessings daily, saying thank you when you wake up and when you go to bed, and staying positive no matter how hard it might be, because it's possible and it's a choice. It's it's difficult, but nothing worth having is easy.
Very true.
That's
And
it for
thank
me.
you. I could continue forever. Like I have also to say about past decisions because a lot of the time we're operating on the unconscious. So is it really our decisions? And then like, yes, but we have now the responsibility, the ability to take responsibility and to make conscious choices going forward and conscious decisions.
Absolutely.
And again, yes, being positive is a incredible skill and an incredible tool. Um, as long as it's balanced also with allowing space for the unpleasant and the uncomfortable, because I think that's important. I think that it is
Absolutely.
important to learn to sit
To deal with
with
it.
those things and to process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that just engenders more positivity afterwards. So it's all good. Thank you
Yeah.
very, very, very much, Simon. You are awesome.
Likewise.
And thank you. Your story is inspiring, and I believe we'll be talking again.
I hope so. Let me know
I
what the community says. Maybe they will
Yes,
want to see a part 3.
I'm very excited for you for 2021. And
For you too. You have something really
thank
exciting coming up, so
yes, 3 weeks.
it's going to be
um,
awesome.
yeah, it'll be difficult, but it will be awesome. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank
But you'll
you
get
very,
through it, I'm
very
sure.
I will. Yes. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and we shall speak again soon.
I hope so. See you soon.
Okay.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye. Be healthy.